Hello everyone. In this video I want to do a review of a multifunction USB 3.1 Type-C hub, and this hub is actually made by a company called KOMKAER. They actually contacted me and sent me this sample for me to review, and that is what I'm going to do today. So this is their model number KOM-US-28717. It's, again, as I said, it's a multifunction hub, and it comes in this very plain, simple, eco-friendly packaging. So what this hub does is actually have, if you look on this side, put this on the side, if you look on this side, it's a multifunction hub with a SD card slot, micro SD card slot, 3 USB 3.0 ports, and a HDMI output, and as well as a USB Type-C port. I believe this one is actually used for charging. And if you look on the side, it have a headphone and mic combination jack. So a really nice looking multifunction hub. Oh, by the way, on the other end of the long end is a RJ45 network cable connector, so the cable port. So really this hub actually does a lot of things, and it comes in this very compact package. Like basically it fits into, it fits into my palm really nicely. Over here you have a aluminum constructed USB-C port right over here, and I believe this one is actually made to be working in conjunction with one of those newer MacBook Pros that doesn't have much of the USB, the traditional USB 3 ports, or the MacBook Air that only had limited number of USB-C ports. So this one, you just put it in one of the USB-C ports on the MacBook, and then you will be able to expand the function of the port by quite a bit. And also especially helpful if you travel a lot and you need to use a hardwired network connection, an RJ45 cable. This one have a network adapter made just for that. So what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to test each individual ports and see if they function as advertised. So what I have here is I have a fairly old 2016 MacBook Pro, and it doesn't have a Type 1 connection. So let me see. It only have USB 3.0 connections. So what I'm going to do over here to be able to test this little hub is that I'm going to be using a little adapter that I also purchased on the Amazon. So this adapter basically, it just takes the USB Type-C kind of a connection and then turn it into a USB 3.0 port. Okay, so I'm going to be able to test the hub on my older MacBook Pro. And also this should work with other kind of MacBooks, like not MacBooks, like even Windows laptops. So basically, if you don't have this little connector, I'll post the link below so you can get this, and then it's really helpful, especially if you have a lot of like newer accessories that only have Type-C connectors. Okay, so I'm gonna just open up my MacBook Pro. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is actually I just turned on my MacBook Pro, and I'm going to plug this hub onto the port, and I'm going to test each function of the ports right over here because I have a few accessories so I can just test them out really quickly. So keep in mind this is a USB 3.1 connection, Type-C, and I'm going to be actually plugged into a USB 3.0 connection. So in terms of data transfer speed, it might be limited by just a little bit, hopefully not too much, but in terms of functionality, it should work just as advertised. Okay, so with the connection, secured, I'm going to go ahead and connect it. And it doesn't have an indicator over here, so I don't really know if it's connected or not. The only way for me to test is probably just to plug a SD card in there and see if it's gonna work. Let's see. Works perfect. So as you can see, it immediately found my my little SD card over here on the SD card slot right over here. And I'm gonna open it up. Yep. I can see all my pictures, which is good. And let's actually test the transfer speed. So let's see how large this folder is. It's about 1.45 gig of stuff. I'm just gonna drag this folder all the way over to my desktop and see how fast it takes, okay? So less than a minute for 1.45 gig of items. And the transfer speed for my SD card right over here is about 95 megs per second. So after this, I'm gonna test the micro SD card slot, if I can find my micro SD card. Again, keep in mind this is at a reduced speed, okay? Because I don't have the newest MacBook Pro. I believe if you have the newest MacBook Pro with a direct USB-C connection, the connection speed or the data transfer speed should be much, much faster, okay? So definitely keep that in mind. Okay, so it finished transfer 1.45 gig of files in less than a minute. And I'm gonna eject this. I'm gonna test the micro SD card slot, which is right down the SD card slot over here. So interestingly, it's not recognizing the micro SD card slot. Maybe I pushed it in the wrong way, probably, yep. I think I put it in the wrong way. Yep, okay, so just a quick tip, the SD card slot, the micro SD card slot, you actually have to push it in the other way. So have your graphics facing down. It doesn't really stop you from pushing it in the wrong way, but I definitely push it in the wrong way. So now it found the SD card right over there. And this is actually one of my cards that I use for audio recording. So I am just gonna try to actually put this 1 gig of file into the micro SD card, but keep in mind that the micro SD card is kind of slow. And so I don't know how long it's going to take. So let's just give it a try. That's a file I just copied from the SD card. So so basically 1.45 gig for to transfer to the micro SD card I had over here is about 2 minutes. So twice as long, but again, my micro SD card is really, really slow. So this transfer speed is actually not limited by the data adapter over here, but it's actually by the micro SD card I have over here. But keep in mind, in this video, I only want to test to see if all the ports are working as advertised. And again, I really like this design because I had an old USB 3 hub, and the hub actually also features the RJ45 connector, but that hub is actually much thicker than this one. I bought that hub actually, I think, around 4 years ago, and I'm just quite amazed at how fast the technology has become. They're able to cramp more of the useful features into the hub without sacrificing the portability of a little multifunction hub, which I'm really impressed. So kudos to them. And again, aluminum construction all around, and it looks like they actually inserted the components from the side, because this side, the top, the bottom, and to left and right is all aluminum. So the only way they can install this in through this hub is probably just by pushing it on the side to get it in there, and which is quite interesting. It should, in terms of durability, like it should be really durable, and it's very lightweight. It doesn't matter where you bump it, it's not going to damage on any of the ports, so you should be totally fine with just throwing this in your laptop bag when you are traveling around. Okay, so the connection, I just finished the transferring without any problems, and I'm going to eject this. I'm going to test the next 3 USB 3 ports, and how I'm going to test that is I actually have a SSD drive that I have over here. This is actually used for my my video recording monitor. So I'm gonna use this little connector on my SSD, and then just plug it into the hub and see if it's gonna transfer the data through the hub. So let's see. I'm gonna just go ahead and disconnect the micro SD. Keep in mind, you want to plug in with the connector size facing the top into the little hub. Okay, so I'm going to test the first port. And again, it actually just found my SSD card without any issue. Excellent. Let's see. So over here, I have a fairly large video file that I did a review for on a webcam. So I'm actually gonna just drag this 26 gig file onto my desk through the little hub over here and see how quick it's gonna take. Again, keep in mind this connection have a limited data transfer speed because I'm using an adapter. Okay, so a 26 gig file. Let's start. Oh wow, transfer speed is really quick for. Okay, so again, I was totally wrong. So the reason the SD card was transferring really slow is because this card actually transfers kind of slow. And if you can see, I have an SSD over here which have over 500 megabytes per second of the transfer speed. I plug it in here into the hub and then onto my MacBook. 26 gigs takes less than a minute. So like roughly transfer speed is about 300 megabytes per second. So that's pretty impressive. So I would say this hub is actually, even with the old MacBook Pro, it's working at full capacity. There's no speed sacrifice on the hub. So which I'm quite amazed at. It took less than a minute for 26 gigs. Now the files I have over here on my SD card was like 1 gig. So on a much faster connection or on a much faster drive, the transfer speed is way faster. It's like 26 times faster. Let's just try the other ports. So I'm not going to do the file transfer because it's all going to be the same thing. I'm going to unplug this and just plug into different ports and see if all the ports are working. And it's running really kind of warm, not very hot. Again, this port is working just fine. So I'm going to exit and then test the other port. So after this, what I'm most interested in testing is the HDMI port. I want to see if it's able to output a HDMI signal with the MacBook Pro, have a proper display, Retina display enabled, to see if it's able to support dual monitor setup. Okay, and again, this port works totally fine. So there you have it. If you have a very fast SSD storage storage unit and you have a whole bunch of other accessories, this little hub is going to do you magic. It's going to work perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to put my SSD aside, and the very next step, I'm going to set up my monitor on the desk. It might be too big for the camera to capture, but then again, I'm gonna set it up really quick and then test the HDMI output to see if it works. So I'll be right back. Alright guys, so this will be kind of a silly test because I have really limited space over here. Over here I have my very trusty Dell Ultra Sharp Premier Color 27-inch 2K monitor over here. Keep in mind it's not a 4K but a 2K monitor. Again, I'm going to be using the HDMI connection on the hub to see if it's actually going to power up the monitor as well as my Retina display on my MacBook Pro, all at the same time, okay? So the monitor right now is actually turned on. It's just telling me that there's no HDMI signal. So again, I have my hub connected. I'm just gonna connect the monitor onto my hub. Let's see. So let me go into display settings and see if it's gonna be able to detect the monitor. So interestingly, when I plug this into the hub, it's actually not showing. So I don't know if it's because of the limitation of my like adapter over here, or a limitation of the USB-C hub, because there's no way for me to actually test to see why it is not working. I know the monitor is working perfectly fine on my desktop PC, and it's just right now when I unplug it, it says no connection, and when I plug it, it tells me the monitor is going into a sleep mode. So I don't really know, because on my MacBook, I was also not able to find that display over here in my display settings. So I can only assume that like one of the connection is not working here. So yeah, usually if I have multiple displays displayed, it would give me an option to configure the extra external display over here, but it's not. So I would have to say the HDMI connection is giving me some issues, and I wasn't able to test HDMI. And the other two ports left over will be the little audio jack over here, and the network card adapter over here. I think it's a, let me see the specs really quick. So again, the speed of the RJ45 port is actually a full duplex Gigabit Ethernet network adapter. So it's pretty fast and it should work. I never had any problem with network adapters, so it should work. But unfortunately, the only thing that's not working is the HDMI port. So I wasn't able to test again because I'm not sure if it's caused by this little adapter or not, because I know the data output on the USB-C is actually much faster. USB-C is actually faster than the the thing on the USB 3.0, and again, this is a very cheap adapter. It's $6. So I almost want to say that if you have a normal MacBook Pro or MacBook Air with a USB-C, the HDMI should work just fine. It's just I was not able to test it because of the limitation of my really old MacBook Pro, okay? If you guys have the same USB-C hub and you have a newer MacBook Pro or the MacBook Air, be sure to let me know in the comments section whether the HDMI connection works or not. I'm curious to find out if it's because of my adapter or it's because of the hub's compatibility, okay? So again, this should conclude the little quick test and overview of the KOMKAER USB-C 3.1 hub. So if you guys have any questions or problems, feel free to discuss with me or ask me in the comments section down below, and I'll be happy to answer for you guys. Be sure to hit the like button or subscribe if you want to see more similar contents coming out for you guys. Okay, thank you so much and take care.